Call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All of you want to do the roll call, please.
Good morning. You don't all have to say it at once.
Good morning, Augie.
Patrick,
Morning, Augie.
did Patrick, or did you respond?
Yes, he
Patrick,
did.
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Lorenzen,
Here.
Farnham,
Good morning.
Chittick,
Yes.
Yes.
and Voigt. Okay.
All right, need a motion to approve the minutes of the December 2018 organizational meeting and December 12th regular meeting. Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Pass. Need a motion to approve the claims against the county.
So moved.
Second. Coach. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Pass. And we need a motion for county board member claims.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes. Time for public comment. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to highway resolutions. The first one is a 2019 county maintenance resolution appropriating funds from the county's motor fuel tax allotment for the maintenance of county highways for the period beginning 1/1/19 to and ending 12/31/2019. Aaron,
Just the
Janet.
general maintenance statement that we talked about Monday, it's, we anticipate coming back to the board late spring and maybe later to supplement this. This is basically for snow and ice control. We're gonna have a pretty significant shoulder operation, day labor shoulder operation to put the snow down across the China region. And maybe our first snow,
Do you want it?
general maintenance. Yes, sir.
Is there an actual dollar amount in the
I
resolution?
think the resolution's 125, isn't it, Augie?
I'm sorry?
125,000.
It is
I knew
$125,000.
that's what we talked
Yeah.
about, I just wanted that on the record.
Yeah, and it's specified in here.
Any questions on the first, the first of a couple, I believe, general maintenance resolutions for 2019?
If there's no questions, can I have a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, Augie.
Patrick,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Lorenzen,
Yes.
Chittick,
Yes.
and Luddington.
Yes.
5-0.
And the second resolution is for the improvement of BLR 9110 appropriating motor fuel tax for the Staley Road Bridge. Aaron?
This one's, you have a pretty significant breakdown in cost for the Staley Bridge, and generally speaking, I'm saying that these dollars, if used, will be used to pay your own staff for construction engineering during the build. Again, it's a cash flow. We're doing a lot of anticipation with this project, so I will say this, if we do use county motor fuel tax for the project, that once we get our TBP payments in future years, that it will get paid back, I will say that much. I'm not sure we'll use it, but I want it there in case we need it. We're all generally concerned that on $1.5 million project, that we have enough cash flow to get us through it as we anticipate. I'd say up more than half of the dollars for this project's in anticipation. So I'm asking you for about $95,000 of motor fuel tax to be authorized so that we could use it to pay internal staff to do construction engineering. Any questions on that? That may get, that next board meeting,
will probably be pretty interesting with that. I'm hoping that I have a project to ask you to award and an agreement, another agreement with Interstar at the next board meeting. I'm hoping that happens. Because again, we have to have trees down by April 1, or we're done until October 1. Any questions on that? I think we discussed that quite a bit Monday as well.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second? Thank you. Roll call.
Patrick,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Lorenzen,
Yes.
Chittick,
Yes.
Luddington.
Yes.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Dan.
The next item is a resolution relating to the participation by elected officials in the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. Augie?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, the IMRF board passed a resolution that says every 2 years, participants, the employers, have to recertify those elected officials who are eligible to participate in the IMRF. So we did this a couple of years ago, and it's 2 years, every 2 years it's up. So what I've done is I go through and I list, well, there's what, 6 of us? Yeah. County clerk, sheriff, treasurer, circuit clerk, coroner, state's attorney. Board members are not included in this. We took the original start date of IMRF for these elected official positions, started in 1951. For some reason, the IMRF board felt it necessary to just make sure everything's on track, so they're starting this new program. Every 2 years, we'll recertify it, so. Pretty cut and dry, all of this. So. And we have a 1,000-hour standard, so these positions have to work at least 1,000 hours. Question, John?
Yeah, I just had a quick question, and it just seems odd to me that we, reading the proposal, that it's by title rather than by name.
Well,
I mean, if they're happy with it, I'm happy with it. That just caught me as kind of an odd way to do it.
that is, obviously the title never changed, isn't gonna change.
Right,
But every 4 years, the names can change. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so,
So we're just saying the county clerk's always eligible, but then you have to go through and figure out the years of service.
yeah, and then, so I sign up, and now I'm in the system.
Right,
And we enroll everybody that comes in, and then whenever they leave, we terminate them. But then IMRF takes it from there. They're the ones that hand out the pension.
so we're just saying that the county clerk is eligible for it, and then for you, you actually have to sign up
It's
and
all
have it
on,
through
yes,
separate.
yeah, it's not on the board, it's on, well, we'll get you signed up, and then,
Any other questions? Need a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second? Andy? Roll call, please.
Patrick,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Lorenzen,
Yes.
Chittick,
Yes,
Luddington.
Yes.
5-0.
The next item is a resolution accepting the arbitrator's award for the deputy's contract beginning in December of 2017 and ending November 30th of 2020. I know we talked about this at the study session. The union, or the arbitrator, the 2 decisions he had to make was one on wages and the other was on health insurance. And he went with the county's health insurance offer, and he went with the union's wage offer. So we need to pass this resolution to accept his award. Whether we agree with it or not, we have to accept it because that's what we agreed to originally.
Worth mentioning on the record that the decision to go with the union's salary proposal was counter to 3 of the 4 of his arguments.
Correct.
Just for saying.
Doesn't make much sense.
I agree.
Basically, the reason why we are agreeing with this is, well, because of what we had to pay for lawyer fees.
Well, it's binding arbitration, so
Yeah.
we're bound to that decision.
Yeah, we already had a resolution saying we would agree with it,
So
so.
officially, I mean, that's what you have to do, but unofficially, I think it's a lousy deal myself.
I think most of us feel that way, so,
Yeah.
but same token. It's drag on way too long,
Need a motion to pass the resolution.
so moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call please.
Patrick,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Lorenzen,
Yes.
Chick,
Yes,
Luddington.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item is resolution appointing Roger Ellis, the Commissioner of Drainage District Number 1 in the town of Prairie. Need a motion to pass this resolution.
So moved.
Second,
Second. Nobody wants to sign today.
roll call please.
Patrick,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Lorenzen,
Yes.
Chittick,
yes,
Luddington.
Yes.
Aaron, did you have anything else?
I just was telling Gary walking in, it's been a real rough month on township roads. It's been really soft. This warm weather is something that we all enjoy, but at the same time, keep in mind that it's just disastrous on low volume township roads. And if you guys get complaints, we've been getting a lot of complaints of damaged cars and et cetera. It's nearly impossible to do anything with the roads, you know, these rural roads. You can't drag them, you can't put heavy equipment on them. Just want you guys to be aware, if you start hearing the complaints that I've been hearing, that the conditions are just terrible for these rural roads.
I will say I've seen the township guys
They're
out
trying,
working and
yeah.
putting the time in and doing the best they can.
It just makes it worse a lot of times. I just wanted to share that because we've been getting a lot of complaints. And
Really?
I assume the board will probably hear some of those complaints.
So what you're saying is you're thrilled with the weather today?
Yeah, well, a good hard freeze would be farmers. I mean, we go through this every year, hauling. We're in our posting period, and a lot of times they'll call in. Farmers, you know, this is their living, they'll say we need to haul. And if it's a good hard freeze, it's not a problem, but right now we're saying no. So I suspect this could enter your guys' arena soon. I just want you to be ready for it.
Well, and the comment I've heard a lot and more on the south side of town, they're still pouring out.
Still,
There's still
Yeah,
corn in the
yeah.
fields and these guys
Yeah.
are saying, sorry,
Yeah.
you know, I've got to get a combine in there.
and they just destroy the road. I mean, it's not like a favor. It's you're making a decision to let someone destroy a road. So, just so you know, it's been, Illinois, I've read that Illinois is one of the worst places in the country for roads because of the freeze-thaw cycle. If it freezes, if you're in Wisconsin, it freezes, it stays frozen. That's one thing, but
You know, this has been a bad winter because we haven't had a whole lot of freezing
that
weather,
ground is soft.
a lot of rain.
Just want to share that with you because I suspect you'll be hearing some grumblings. I know we are.
I need to go on record and apologize to Aaron for getting upset with him yesterday. He knows why I got upset.
Apology accepted.
We had a few words,
Okay.
but we're all good.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Dina?
If you haven't seen the paper, Edgar County was issued a 1 multiplier again. The complaint period for 2018 is closed, and we had 52 complaints out of 18,000 parcels. We are pleased. Sad note to that, though, our 3rd Board of Review member, Caroline Keys, had to resign effective immediately due to husband's health issues. So we can continue with the 2 members as a quorum, and they have already been through the 52 complaints. So this year will close out quickly, but we will be searching for that 3rd board member. They take office in June 1, so we have some time to find someone. We would prefer it to be a female. She has to be replaced by the Republican Party or someone affiliated with the Republican Party. So those are kind of the two criteria we're looking for. Always open to suggestions.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When is the deadline over?
To file a complaint?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, if you said that, I missed that, I'm sorry.
Yep. It was December 31st, and then we actually took everything that was in our deposit box that January 2nd, when we came back to work. If there was anything dropped off, we went ahead and accepted it, which there were 2.
Did you find mine in there by chance?
Nope, sorry, Augie.
Sorry, okay.
Nice try.
So you've listened to the complaints, but you haven't dealt with them?
They review them first.
Okay,
We go and look at properties if necessary. There's about 5 that they're holding for some more information from a taxpayer.
okay.
At this point, we create notices, send it out to the taxpayer. They have 10 days to say, I'm still not happy with that. Then we have what we call a final hearing where they meet face-to-face with our board.
So you don't feel a need to get that third person on there to,
I don't want to throw someone in there that has no idea what they're doing. If we
Okay.
had someone that maybe might be knowledgeable in the real estate field, it would certainly, we would be open to that. But we could also make a mistake by pushing someone in so quickly, particularly at this time when they haven't had any time to get used to the system, how it works, and then to be making decisions on somebody's assessed value.
Who were the other 2 members?
Ray Young and Roger Stanley. So there's 2 farmers here from the Paris area. Again, we prefer, don't have to, but we would prefer a female and maybe someone
the
not
city.
from the Paris area.
Well, you had 3 farmers, right?
Caroline's a retired teacher.
I know her extremely well, but she's still married to a farmer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know Butch, but I know it's
I
Butch.
do know him extremely well. I'm just saying, it'd be nice to get somebody who would have the interest of the,
Other than a farmer,
other than a
absolutely.
farm, nothing personal, but in a farm, nothing personal.
Stick your foot in that, you know that.
I'm trying to. I've dealt with this board before.
Does that pay for this?
And there is a monthly stipend for 6 months out of the year.
You only get paid half a year.
You know, work happy.
Right, and it doesn't necessarily coincide with when they do work.
What would the qualifications be for this besides being a woman and having that thing you
A
talk about?
Republican
Well-
woman.
You have to take a class and pass an exam within 1 year of being appointed.
That's all there is?
Requirement, right?
Republican
Trying
woman,
to
love, that's all you
supplement your
need.
retirement again, Phil?
Do I look like I met passes a woman?
You keep talking.
Depends on the day of the week, Phil.
Female's preference.
Sure. I'd like to deal with
all right. Jeff, do you have anything?
How do you follow that?
Tom?
I have not.
Okay. Augie?
Yes, just a couple of things. Was looking through my election calendar, and we are now allowed, statutorily, we're allowed to accept requests for an absentee ballot for the April 2nd election. So it's the same as here. So pretty soon I'll have to have my ballot certifications in by this Friday. So things are beginning to turn. And the first day for early voting is February the 21st.
What positions are up for that election?
Well, they're all
School board
the
or-
villages, cities, the municipalities, fire protection districts, school boards, libraries, things like that.
We're gonna have the Chrisman voting place changed for the April?
Yes, I will be bringing you a resolution next month for that. The other thing, along the election lines, is, I'm gonna boil this down, I'm gonna try to really down. We are in need of new election equipment. A long time ago, 12, 13 years, 14 maybe, there was money available throughout the state for election equipment. And most counties bought new equipment, and we're all in the same boat. Now, that equipment is pretty much close to the end of its life cycle. We get by. It's not been an issue with inaccurate tabulating so much as it is a jam in the tabulator, and then it throws our count off, so then we have to recount that particular ballot box until we get back in balance. So it's the equipment is almost wore out, and in fact, visited with our election vendor earlier in the week, and he informed me that by the end of this year, he will no longer be able to provide any kind of maintenance on this equipment. It's all worthless. It's all worthless. So there are a couple of election equipment manufacturers. It's a very technical piece of equipment. There's only, like I said, there's only 2 or 3 manufacturers that are doing it, and but it's all pretty much the same equipment. Yeah, it's $150,000 for what we need for 10 voting centers, plus the my office for early voting is 11, 2 or 3 spares. So it's expensive, but it's going to be necessary. So I'm working on that with Jeff and the vendor and see what we come up with. Ideally, we would get some new equipment now so that we could cut our teeth on it for this April election, when the turnout will be lower. It just is, compared to next year, when 2020 is presidential year. We're going to be busy in the primary and the general election. Better to work out the kinks and the bugs and figure out how it works than,
Big election.
open it up on a big election and all of a sudden, say, whoa, what's this all about? But not that there would be any problems. It would just be a much smoother, easier transition for us going into an election year, a big election year like 2020.
And I assume that that's one of those things you're gonna have to replace it all at once. There's no
Yeah, there's no,
easing into it or getting 4 machines and then getting more next year,
because, no, you're exactly correct.
because
See,
they all have to connect and tabulate,
yeah, there's a difference in the ballot style, the format of the actual ballot. There, from what we're using now, just a straight legal size with all the barcoding all around it. The new technology takes a slightly different size of paper, and the barcoding is completely different. And it has something to do with being more accurate and more efficient in reading the ballot. So I got 2 different ballot format or styles, if you will, and that becomes, well, it'd be expensive to run 2 different systems at the same time.
What's the total cost to replace all of them? Do you have any idea?
Well, we're right at 150,000, and I have ballpark 25-30,000 that have been accumulating for this particular project. And the other thought would be to set up a line of credit, and we borrow the money and pay it back over a 5-year period. It would appear to be manageable.
Didn't we allocate some money last year, or were we just talking about allocating? Is that what?
Talking about it.
Yeah.
First
See,
step.
at one time, the there's what we have, the county election program fund, which is, it's an 800 fund. And there was north of 100,000 in that account. And it was to be used for new equipment. But over the years, right, wrong, or indifferent, that money was moved over into the general fund. We had some very lean and difficult years for, those that have been on the board since I have been elected. Early years were very tough financially, so I think some of that money was used to help us fall deeper into the black hole, or the red hole, if you will. And so now it's time to replace it, and we don't have that full amount available to us.
So how old are these? I'm just trying to, roughly how old are the machines?
12, 13 years old.
Is that something that every 12 or 13 years you're gonna need to replace these machines, it seems like?
Well, I don't know, because prior to that, it was punch cards. So here comes the technology, and so we received at that time, state of the art. Well, now, that's old, and there's a new generation of highly technical voting equipment. So I can't answer that question. It may be like your cell phone, or, computer every 2-3 years. I doubt that. But I would think that we could get a similar time frame out of new equipment that we have now.
I mean,
Vinyl's coming back. Can we go back to the punch cards? I mean, that seems like a timeless answer. Yeah, bring Manatron back. Let's consider Manatron.
Maybe you could reduce the number of polling places, that way you reduce the number of.
We've done that too.
Well, that's a good point, and I was on a committee that went to Indiana. I think I reported that a few years back, and we looked at true voting centers where you could go to one of, in this case in Tippecanoe County, which is Lafayette, there were 3 voting centers, small, mid-size, and large. It didn't make a difference where you lived in the county, you could go and take your pick. So you're driving home on the northern part of Tippecanoe County and there's a polling place, you can stop there even though you live in the southern part of the county and could not get there in time for the polls to close. That is a true voting center. We refer to ours as voting centers because we just always have, but they actually are polling places that are clustered, and that's appropriately named sometimes too. And there's also, there are statutes that provide for the maximum number of registered voters in a precinct and how many precincts you can put in a voting center. And we, the county clerk organization has lobbied to really take a look at moving to true voting centers. It will cut down on the expense of election judges and equipment costs. It become more efficient. It would be much easier for the voters to have access to a ballot also. And there was a little bit of traction, but for some reason, Springfield has a way of losing their way, if you will. So that's kind of been pushed aside now, so.
Do you anticipate, or I mean, I'm sure you're in the loop of what the up and coming, I mean, are they looking at maybe in 10 years, you'll do it from your home on a computer? I don't know, is that?
That's a common thought, but right now, the politicians, the legislators want paper. You really can't.
That's probably less likely than it was a few years ago.
The cyber threat is much more enhanced when you use internet than you come in and do your paper.
Carl couldn't vote.
So we were just talking, Jeff and I, the other day, just roughing it out. 150 minus, say I got 30, that's 120 divided by 5 years. 120 divided by 5, what is that, 20, how much?
24.
24 a year. And with some tweaking in my budget, I can get that down to 20,000 is really what the county would be on the line for over the next 5 years. So,
It just sounds like something we're gonna have to do, because
Yeah,
nothing
take no
else is
choice.
gonna change, you know, the chance of the state changing
Yeah,
in
Bad
the
days
next
won't be
6
better
months or
than
so.
Yeah.
Audie,
yes,
make a quick comment for the
Please.
board, in defense of what you're saying. We have an 8-year-old color copier scanner plotter, 8 years old, bought it new, and, we can't give it away. The plotter's out. It's just amazing, I'm just speaking in defense of this, how quickly 13 years go by. And you say, well, I just bought that stuff, that's new equipment.
Right.
But just recognize that in the last week, it's been going on for several months, but we can't give that thing away. They asked us just to throw it out, and we finally got one vendor to take it so that we, don't get in trouble for improper disposal on trade-in. But it's absolutely worthless. In 8 years,
What's the throw on this? So from us saying, hey, we're gonna allocate this money, how soon before you're up and ready to vote? Do you have any idea of what the lag time is from request to shipment to you being ready to roll with it? I mean, are we
what,
conceivably, if we move quickly with this, would they be up and ready for April? How,
You've got 90 days.
Yeah.
well, I have 90 days to the election, but
You're
remember I
already-
said the wheels have already started to turn? And my ballot certification is due on Friday.
okay.
And so the vendor has to know which way we're going, old or new. And
Right.
there's absolutely no pressure from him. It's just, if you want to do it, here's the calendar, here's the clock. And if you want to do it, I need to know by Friday. And one way or the other. One way or the other. And he said, but one way or the other, if you don't do it for April, he said, you're going to have to do it for the.
Right, well, and this may be a stupid question, but if they're both laid out and they have the same people on it and everything like that, that certification, could they certify 2 ballots?
Well, it's not so much, it's me certifying to them, it's the actual sending the ballot to the printer,
Got it, okay.
see?
Got it.
And I'm just one of how many counties this particular vendor uses. Now, there's only 2 or 3 vendors in the state, election vendors.
Right.
And they're pretty much all running on the same clock.
So if we told them that we're going with the newer ballots, are we gonna have those machines ready to go?
Yes.
Okay.
We already got the plan ready to go. The training for the judges, just the whole 9 yards. It's all in place, ready to go. It's really just a matter of us pulling the trigger.
Which would be, unless we're gonna have a special meeting next month, right?
Unless we're gonna have a special meeting
This
by
week.
Friday at noon.
We can kinda, I mean, I don't. I
If we
think
get a
can
straw
trust
poll,
the-
that would help.
That's where I'm going with
I'm
this,
sorry,
so.
here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, John, on that, I mean, we're not gonna get better news on this, so. we might
I'm in
press
favor of
forward.
pushing on it, if at all, I mean, if it's doable. Because the last thing I want, I have a feeling the next presidential election's gonna be ugly enough, I don't wanna be on CBS News. Because then you're down to
Edgar
us
County.
breaking into a
Yeah.
ballot box.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to
Everyone's
run
eyes
their
on us.
equipment. Hell, I can't run my own new iPhone. I don't know how I'm gonna do voting
Well, I
equipment.
mean, does anybody have any reservations or
No.
concerns or,
No.
okay,
I really don't.
there's your answer.
So there's my straw poll.
Yep,
Um,
well, I mean, Jeff could come in and throw a fit, but I don't think he would.
yeah, and I don't think he will, but, he had mentioned the idea, obviously, of getting board approval, so would there be 4 of you available Friday for a special meeting
Yep,
Sure.
at any time.
yep.
What's the best time? 8 o'clock in the morning?
Okay.
4 o'clock?
I could be here.
I'm sorry,
I could be here.
I'd rather not 8, but
9,
You'll do
10,
it.
yeah.
Noon?
whatever.
Noon works.
How about noon?
12, high noon,
I know.
High noon.
high noon.
I'll be here.
You serving lunch?
There we go.
I can arrange for that.
That's good, that's good.
Now we're
All right.
talking.
I will,
Dan, that is the best thing I've.
All year.
Why
Nailed
don't-
it.
First meeting
Nailed
this
it.
year.
why don't we tentatively just plan noon this Friday at the highway office?
Okay.
Eric can serve lunch.
Oh, understood. I'll be around.
It'd be time
All
you'd
right.
be worse than
All right.
You need me to
Yeah,
present?
I mean, I
I
can.
won't bother you Friday, okay?
Let's not talk about it. Maybe we'll talk
I
about
said
it.
you would. What do you-
Does anybody have any other questions for me regarding any of this? I rambled for a while, so.
And I know you've been working on it.
I
for
guess
a long
my
time.
concern is,
Do it before Christmas.
my concern is that, you know, we've got 90 days and for everything to fall in place perfectly, to have everything in place and trained and everything, I just think.
Hard to imagine that, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh, you
They-
said, you already said you got people that are, you're honed in for the experience, ready to go, right?
The vendor has, his people, they go out and this is what they do. They train county, the election judges, the staff, the county clerk and staff first on how this equipment works. Now, it really isn't that complicated. So I don't want you to think it's rocket science, but there's a learning curve.
but getting everything printed and everything, that you don't think there'll be a problem.
The printing of the ballot is gonna happen anyway by Friday when I say, here's my
Okay,
certification. That part of it is, that's really not an issue.
okay.
It's just which ones you want.
It's just
This
which
one
way you
or
wanna
that.
go. The equipment is available and ready to be on site just at a moment's notice. And his staff is ready to come and do training. He said, Augie, we'll put all of that in place for you.
You might briefly talk about the grants that you talked about yesterday.
Pretty soon I'm gonna be talking more than Eric does.
I said briefly.
Briefly,
Nothing's
okay.
gonna happen.
Yeah, I try to be brief, I'm sorry. I've mentioned a year ago about cybersecurity and the Russians hacking into our election process, which I personally believe is they've made an attempt, but they have not altered the outcome, okay? And be that as it may, there's a concern, Washington, Springfield, that we as a country need to do a better job of cyber security with our elections. So then that filters down to each state and then down to each county. There have been several million dollars made available, which has been distributed to the states. And Illinois has, honestly, off the top of my head, I don't remember the number, but I can tell you that Cook County has half of it, which is several million dollars. The other portion of that gets distributed throughout the rest of the state by demographics, size of the county. We are in line for a $10,000 grant. It's to be used for cyber security software, education, training, those types of things. And that's just a matter of us signing off on it, saying, yeah, we'll participate in this program. You have to use, a couple of requirements, the county has to use the, is it Illinois Century Network? We run our internet through. Jeff, is that what's going on with that tower behind your office? Yes, I think it is, thank you. And so we're already a part of that. We have to allow an authorized cyber expert that works for the state board to come in and look at our overall network, our computer system,
This is county system, why not just the election?
county system-wide, just to see if there's anything out there that raises a red flag. You cannot use this money for equipment, and that's down in the fine print. And so at the various meetings and conferences that I've been to last year or two, there's been all kinds of talk about antiquated equipment, and the federal government needs to come out with money. And somehow that got thrown in with cybersecurity. And so when they announced this cybersecurity grant money available, a lot of people, including myself, got the impression that that could be used for new equipment, because there are, I don't know, I'm not a technical person. Technology is not my thing, but there's something embedded in that technology, in the hardware, that is cyber protected. It's an enhanced cyber protection device, if you will. And so we just assume, if it's going to be an equipment, why not use it for equipment? But the fine print in the grant says no equipment. The other misleading thought was that this grant would be an annual grant, as long as you participate and use the Illinois Century Network, let the cyber guy come in and look, get education, get training, but it's just a one-time shot. So,
And we would necessarily have something to use that money towards, it sounds like. I mean, it would be some sort of, if we don't have some sort of cyber security on our computers anyway, beyond what the state already has, we're not really gaining anything if we're limited to just software security.
and that's a good point, Derek. As much as I always try to get as much grant money as we can, this particular round of grants, I don't think it's gonna help us at all. I don't think it's gonna benefit us. And it's not that we put that on our county network. It's what the election server in my office is a standalone server that is not connected to the county network at all. It goes right to the election vendor. And so on election day, everything's paper, okay? Unless you go to the touch screen, which is required by the federal government, and you do touch screen voting. At the end of voting day, you push the button, and in both the tabulator and the touch screen, you get a printout. You get a receipt of, now not who did it, but every vote that was cast for every candidate, whether it be 0 or however many. So that's the record. We do not plug those memory cards out of all these tabulators. We do not plug those into the computer and send that out there into the cloud somewhere. There is zero connection between our election night tabulation and the internet. Now, that's all internal. Once we have completed the tabulation and we have our reports, they are the unofficial results until I canvass 2-3 weeks later. But those results are the results. Now from there, then we push those up to the internet. But that's just reading it on the internet. That doesn't mean,
That, nothing changed.
I mean, if somebody wanted to try to manipulate those numbers, I suppose you could, but it doesn't make any difference because we have the official hard vote totals by paper and our server right here.
And then you submit those officially later in paper form, like mail them?
To the state,
Yes.
both. We mail copies of those printouts, cash register receipt type stuff, and we submit it electronically through the State Board of Elections secure website.
Okay. The touchscreen, how does that work as far as, do you update that? Or is it ever connected to the internet? How does
No.
that work?
No.
So it's hardwired in, you put it out, it tabulates, it's done. Any kind of updates are done by someone showing up and putting them in, or there are no updates that are done? I mean, obviously you have to put the ballot in.
Yeah, the vendor comes and they take the memory cards, they get it all loaded there, stick it back in, it's locked, there's a safety seal on it, which is recorded.
Got it, okay.
The chain of custody is very secure and very thorough.
Right. So with the updates to our system, no updates to the touchscreen, is the plan, that's a separate
No,
piece of equipment?
when equipment.
Sorry,
means-
I'm going back to.
No, equipment means
150,000.
what we currently use, period. Touchscreens, tabulators,
Everything.
that all goes to the recycle
Okay.
hole
Got
somewhere.
it. Okay, that was my last question.
And then there is a new touchscreen, and it actually will print a ballot out. So you can look at it, and then you go run it through the tabulator.
Which is, yeah, that's nice, okay. So, sorry.
Okay.
The, now the new touchscreen will no longer print out a full record. The only record is each individual ballot gets turned into the box, right? Okay. Accurate to say?
Ask me that again, please.
So, current method with the old touchscreen is at the end of the day, it prints out a full report of every vote. The new one will only be recorded by individual ballots being put into the box.
No,
Everybody
it will
else's.
also print out a receipt.
Okay.
I call it receipt, it's a
Sure.
tape
Tracking.
of, just like the old one did, but the difference, the old touchscreen is just a touchscreen and gets recorded inside
Yep.
that piece of equipment. Now, with the new touchscreen, not only does it get same way recorded there, it will, at your option, print out a paper ballot so you can actually
See,
look at
it's
it
your
and
copy,
see
you're not
it
turning
and
it.
feel warm and fuzzy about putting it through the tabulator.
Sounds like you're getting it twice that way. but-
Well, it's
So I
not,
see
it's,
where you're
it's,
at.
it's not,
Yeah,
but,
I'll take your word on it.
yeah.
That's fine, right?
And listen, that's coming, all this coming from a non-technological, astute person.
You're a Manatron man. That's fine.
I'm back in the Manatron here.
Thank you, Augie.
Gosh, I'm not done yet, Carl.
Damn.
Yes, you
Yeah, you are.
I think you set a new record.
Awesome.
Mr. Brennan,
Well,
do you have anything? We're
yeah, we
going.
had our animal meeting yesterday. Andrea and Linda did a great job out there. Kind of impressive. We only had put down 5 dogs all last year, which is probably a lot less. We've had like 26 one year, 33 one year, but only 5 last year that they put down. They had 137 dogs that were adopted or sent to rescue. And I think the total for the year was 284 dogs in the shelter, so they did a great job. The other thing that came up, and Lloyd can probably explain it better than I can, the horses on Route 1 by Oliver. I don't know, can you explain a little bit about that? The conditions are terrible.
I go by there twice a day, almost every day. Now, a couple of years ago, there were several days that those horses didn't have anything to eat. And then last year, I always call the sheriff or something, I'm sure they're getting tired of hearing from me, but I'm probably not gonna stop. And last year, they've been, had plenty to eat all the time. It seems like there's only one day where, and if I don't go by there in a bus, I drive out there every day. If I don't have a trip, I'll do that anyway. And they've been fed pretty well. The shelters, they do have some sort of shelter. But the conditions that they're, when they have to eat, they're standing 3 feet in mud, 2-3 feet. Turn up to the, whatever they call those joints. Yep, on
Pass
people.
turn.
I don't know anything about it. I'm just telling you.
Halfway up the leg.
It looks like they got a little horse in there and they're reaching up to get the hay. And, something needs to be done about it. I don't know how many people care about animals, but this is not the way that we should treat these. We're responsible, people are. And there've been complaints, the state's been down, and their opinion is that this guy is just barely within the law. And there are other places even worse. I haven't ever seen any other places. I just see that because it's right on the highway. And they say they complain, they send stuff to Mark, and nothing ever gets done. I've called the state. They get to run around like you wouldn't believe. Nobody wants to be concerned.
Now, Andrews called the sheriff, and they checked it, as Lud said, they're just barely, within the law.
Within the law, and there's nothing that supposedly anybody can do about it, but I think there's gotta be something done. I don't know
We're
if
seeing in the
what they're
paper
doing is
news.
barely legal or not, it's just wrong for animals to be treated like that.
They don't ride them or anything.
Yes, they do.
Do they ride them?
I've seen them saddled up, ready. I spent a lot of time checking this person out.
We just thought we'd mention it's a problem.
Does anybody, how many people in this county care about that? Maybe there needs to be more publicity put on it, pictures taken, things like something.
Don't try to take pictures while you're driving the bus.
I won't.
Have you contacted anybody this winter about it?
No, because they've been eating. That's what I was concerned about to start with, that they had nothing to eat. But he's been much better on that. It's just now, as we've had all this rain,
Right.
you know, that's a pitiful thing anyway. Now, I mean, the level, until you see where they're stand to eat, and you're almost, sometimes take a ride by there and see yourself. It's really pitiful conditions for animals to live in. That's something that needs to be
How
done.
many horses are there?
6 or 7 or 8.
6, 7, 8, somewhere in there.
And it varies. And he's got a place down Marshall somewhere, they said it's even worse than this one. So when people complain a lot, he just moves them down there for a while.
So you're saying right now they've got something to eat, but it's just
Yes,
mud?
they do eat every day. They stand in 3 foot deep of mud to get to
Well,
it.
come and look at my cow lot.
I was gonna say.
Well, I'm not arguing that, Carl.
Right,
I've heard that before.
Right.
And I'm no expert on this.
Mhm.
I just know from an animal lover's
All right.
point, this isn't the way horses are to be treated, or any other animal. And I don't know the answer. I think, you know, if they were mine, I'd find something to do about it, but they're not. And other people don't think the same thing the way we do. Farmers are different. They're, you know, they live that, and it's different with them.
Department of Ag has been down there in the past several times,
And I
haven't
call
they?
those guys, and
Yeah.
you never get to run around, but they do come down to,
Yeah.
didn't Andrea say that?
Andrews, she was.
And she said, and that's where they got the word that they're barely within the law.
Market agriculture's a big thing, if they've got feed, some type of shelter.
Basically, that's it. They do have some kind of thing in the back.
The feed was the issue several years ago,
Mm-hmm.
so we thought we'd just mention it in
Okay.
case we get it out there a little bit. I say, they do a great job,
Mm-hmm.
both Andrew and Winters.
Yeah, it kinda sounds like everybody's doing their job, he's just
Just
walking that fine line.
He ought to have more compassion.
Yeah, some people don't. Just
That's
like
what I'm
my
getting
cats. Nobody cares about my cats either.
Well, I do.
Andy?
That's why we're
Top
on this
side.
committee.
Well, I heard from one of the guys at Smart Walk, I thought it was interesting, he called me and wanted to know, like who were some local people that they could possibly, you know, just people in the area that did certain things like electricians and which I thought was a good, on their part, they intend to use local people to do a lot of their stuff. So, and he called me on a day when I was really busy, so, but I haven't heard back as far as, I think within the next week or so, they're supposed to get back with me and we're supposed to get together on the toggle session or whatever they call it.
Some of the guys got to be back here this week, I think.
What's that?
Probably this week or middle of next week will be back, because they had to bring some of them
Things?
sensor things back around, because I guess people got curious what they were, and they walked in their offices, and what's this thing?
And that's
So
with.
shut it off.
Okay. So that's probably why you haven't got back with me yet.
Did we get a report on that?
What's that, will we?
Well,
We-
back
yeah.
there. Monitors and all.
We should.
Reports today, we had a lot of curious staff.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeff's called me 2 or 3 times, we've got some problems with the boiler. You probably know more about it it's leaking a little bit,
Right,
right?
we got a small crack in one of the sections of the border. Which you can, that border set up, you can replace sections instead of having to replace the whole border.
Can we give the guy that shovels coal into it some duct tape?
You must hit it with something, yeah.
That's what we've done to this point, right?
Somebody advertised on TV, put it over a water thing, it's supposed to seal it.
But it's 10 years old now.
Flexible.
Harvey says, you know, you can start expecting things to happen, so.
What, has he got, something ordered to replace it?
He'd order a section
Okay,
to replace that section.
Are there like 3 sections to it or more?
I don't know how many there is exactly, but it was like, I
Gaskets
don't
in
know if it's
between.
five different sections or what. And then there's, the problem we had New Year's Eve, when we didn't have heat in here, is just, a sensor that got, some corrosion on it or soot or something to, wouldn't let it connect, but I did give Harvey to go ahead and order a couple small electronic parts so that we had them.
did you have anything, John, for you?
I don't have anything,
Okay.
drainage ditches are all fine,
Okay,
Yeah, we gotta pay for them.
all right,
but we appreciate it.
But he was gonna order them parts, so we got them on hand in
Yeah.
case they do ever quit, so.
all right. Okay,
That's it.
that's it, okay. Coach?
I already said enough. We'll leave here pissed off.
Eric?
So we're still moving forward with project one, so the first one's already been let. I want to thank Aaron, Tom, and Augie for your work, just doing that request from the state via Barry, the information they requested there. Project two, the one that is yet to be let, shooting for March. I've got something to sign, to get sent off, but that seems to be on track as well. Tom, any updates, or where are we on our old beacon? Have we ever put that out to the world? Can we do that? Is there something we can, eBay or old repurposed airportstuff.com?
Derek will work with him on that.
Yes, please do.
We're getting ready to do something right now, yeah.
Okay.
I think you'll talk to Dirk about that.
I mean, convince somebody to look cool on top of their car, I mean, just, whatever it is, be good to get that moved.
We have a scrap iron pile too. And we,
I don't wanna do that.
well.
It's better than
no,
that.
I mean, a lot of times that stuff ends up, like I said, 8-year-old plotter printer, junk.
This is a punch card technology. It's good for life.
It's Manatron.
Yeah.
But we're getting ready to do
Three-man.
some of that, so we could work together on that.
Deal. I think that's it.
Ambulance?
We'll have a meeting next week. I haven't got that figured out when that's gonna be, but, I've got some more documentation to send out to my members, so,
Okay.
nothing else to report.
Mr. Bruner?
What about the security at Silo? The guy that works at the hospital about every day asks me about what's going on. You know anything about it, or?
Jeff would want to know.
We've got the contract, I just gotta wait for Jeff to get back to get his signature on it.
Okay.
I've
So
talked to-
you've got it to the state's attorney and he's approved it?
Yeah, we've got everything done, I've got my signature on it, I had to have Jeff's signature. I was thinking, you said today he was gonna be gone, but I brought it with me in case he was here. And I called Alan Monday afternoon, and told him, and he said, as soon as you get it signed, get it to me, and I'll get it signed, and we'll be good to go.
So did you go the part-time route, or is that contract
Well,
independent?
That all, parts all still,
Feature. Okay,
we're just getting the contract so everybody can kind of do their thing and try to find somebody.
Yeah, the applicants, anybody interested, but you know,
A lot of people interested, but there's just not many of them qualified to.
he's got your resume, Dan.
okay,
We'll get back to you.
well, guys talk to me every day.
Yeah.
You gotta tell them something.
Thanks for getting that done, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
Monty, did you have anything?
No.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Do we have a need to go to closed session? Does anybody have a need for that? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, nay? We're adjourned.
Did a good job.
We might keep it a little longer.
I didn't anticipate it being this long. It went on longer.
Looks pretty short. Probably why I didn't show up, when we were asked. Wasn't for arguing, we would've done long time ago.
You hurt my feelings.